The latest on Dexter Lawrence, one of the best nose tackles in the NFL, who has requested a trade away from the New York Giants. The team's new coach, John Harbaugh, spoke today at the beginning of the Giants offseason program, and he said, "We want Dexter Lawrence here." Harbaugh said he's not surprised because he saw this coming a few weeks ago. And he added the obvious. There is a business side to this. Yes, Dexter Lawrence wants a new contract, but he's got 2 years left on his existing one, which gives the Giants a lot of leverage here. Now, I've got to laugh at some of the takes that I'm seeing on the internet trying to insinuate that Dexter Lawrence isn't that good, that the 49ers got a great deal on Osa Odighizuwa in comparison to whatever Lawrence might go for. Yes, the 49ers got a really good deal on Osa Odighizuwa. Yes, they needed to make that trade. Osa had 52 pressures last year on his own for the Dallas Cowboys. The 49ers defensive tackles had 56 pressures combined. So the 49ers needed a three-technique defensive tackle badly. They got one, and now they're moving forward. But that had nothing to do with Dexter Lawrence, who plays a completely different position than Osa Odighizuwa. Osa's 290 pounds or so. Dexter Lawrence is 340 plus pounds. He's a nose tackle. Osa, obviously, at that three technique position. What makes Dexter Lawrence so special is the fact that he can rush the passer from a run blocking alignment and size. If you can rush the passer from 340 pounds, well, you're a unicorn. You're one of those guys that just doesn't grow on trees around this league. And that's what's made Dexter Lawrence such a good player. From 2022 to 2024, he was in his absolute prime when it came to getting after the quarterback. There was a season there with 70 pressures for Dexter Lawrence. Pressures when aligned at nose tackle since 2022. This is awesome. This is from Warren Sharp. 108 for Dexter Lawrence, but this is mainly achieved between 2022 and 2024. The 2025 season wasn't nearly as good for Dexter Lawrence. He had 34 pressures, only half a sack. It's been 22 games since he's notched a full sack. So obviously there's been a little bit of a drop off there, but he still is one of the premier run defenders in all of football. Now there's context to all of this. Dexter Lawrence was in a contract dispute with the New York Giants entering last season already, but the team having all the leverage because he still had 3 seasons under contract then, even more than now. They're able to put a Band-Aid on it, and then Lawrence played what was a tremendously bad 2025 season for the Giants as a defense, and he didn't put up his best numbers. But I will tell you this, 34 pressures for a nose tackle, which is a position that has to deal with a lot of double teams and is a run defense oriented position. For Dexter Lawrence, that might have been a bad season or a down season. For essentially every other nose tackle in the game, it would be a phenomenal season. So it's really important to put that context around this. And that's why the Giants, with 2 seasons left on Lawrence's deal, would like to keep him. If, somebody did trade for him, and you talk about the 49ers as a potential fit, of course he would fit with San Francisco. You have Osa at the 3 technique, who you traded for from the Dallas Cowboys, and then you fit Dexter Lawrence into a nose tackle position. You'd have a 4 defensive tackle rotation. So it'd be Dexter Lawrence, it would be Osa Odighizuwa, Alfred Collins, and CJ West. But in the most realistic world, as I was saying yesterday, even though the 49ers are going to call on this, just like almost every other team in the NFL, in the more realistic world where Dexter Lawrence stays put, teams have to rely on their draft picks to actually pick up some of the main slack. And for the 49ers, they used the 2nd round pick on Alfred Collins in 2025. He's got a boatload of potential. He developed well over the course of his rookie season. He's going to be asked to pick up a lot of the slack at the defensive tackle position opposite Osa Odighizuwa. CJ West, who could play both the nose and a 3 technique with his explosiveness, is also going to be a big part of the rotation. And the 49ers, I think, still need a 4th defensive tackle to crack his way into the rotation. Maybe that's the Hulk. Maybe that's Sebastian Valdez. Maybe it's Evan Anderson, who spent all of last season on the practice squad, didn't see any time after 2024. Who takes that next step? Or do the 49ers enter that NFL draft sweepstakes for a defensive tackle? I don't think the tackle class is nearly as strong as it was last year. So it's good that the 49ers dipped twice into it last year with Alfred Collins and CJ West. But still, there could be talent to be had for the 49ers to bolster an interior that did have trouble rushing the quarterback last year. Now, run defense, that was a different story. 49ers took big strides ahead on run defense. That was the whole point of the 2025 offseason investment. Now they're trying to figure out how to rush the passer better. And somebody like Dexter Lawrence has been able to do both throughout his career, which is why any team should be interested, particularly the 49ers. But the Giants not too incentivized to give up Dexter Lawrence for all the reasons that we just listed. Take a look at this about the 2026 NFL Draft defensive tackle class. This is a blurb from Ollie Connolly's podcast. Learned something about the Rams, and I think this applies to the 49ers, although they may not be as loud about this as the Rams. But he said that I was learning from one of these teams how the franchises are looking at some of the combine data now, where they are just not as interested in the combine data. It's all the GPS stuff. They have access to way more GPS stuff than we do. They're doing all this weird robotic stuff. They're doing all these visual tracking data with this robotic stuff that's just beyond freaky. You can take the all-22 and put it into the system rather than have the player in-house. It is absolutely freaking me out. The Rams are using this a lot, and the team I talked to was explaining this stuff to me, and I was like, this is kind of creepy. And they were like projecting all the stuff we're looking for with athletic explosion on the move. So playing through contact, essentially playing around bodies, maintaining your speed. He tests like the great ones in the league through all these measurables they can do, which is not about necessarily competition level, but just the ability to apply force, the speed against a certain kind of mass. You can compare mass to mass, and that would have been a great player. You can go out and find that kind of stuff. He's talking about robotic stuff and using AI to analyze athleticism and strength at a much deeper level. Well, we all know that the 49ers are based in the capital of artificial intelligence. They are in the Bay Area. Just take a look at rent prices right now in San Francisco, and you'll understand what the AI revolution is all about. I mean, there is money, unlike ever before, it seems, pouring into the San Francisco Bay Area. 49ers in the middle of all of it. The Rams aren't all that far away. They are based down in Los Angeles. And if the Rams are on the cutting edge with artificial intelligence, then I think it's safe to say that the 49ers are too. And, you know, this has been around now for a few years, but I think that we're seeing everything speed up and hit the public eye. Like, I mean, it's basically slapping the public in the face right now. AI everywhere. And perhaps it's not a coincidence, but I've reported on this a lot. The 49ers have let R&D take a much more central role in their draft decision-making process over the past couple of years. They did not draft well, particularly in 2023. But after trading away all those valuable picks to move up and get Trey Lance in 2021, the 49ers went through a major draft downturn. 2022 obviously yielded Brock Purdy, but not much else. And then 2023 was a small draft that also wasn't all too successful for San Francisco. So they had to start hitting better in 2024 and 2025. And those just happened to be the years where the 49ers again had first-round picks, but also they turned much more to research and development, to R&D, which would be the side of the building applying AI, applying a lot of the new ways of looking at things. The spot where it seems that the Rams have definitely gotten a little bit of a competitive edge over much of the rest of the league recently. And the Rams ran a renovation that is very similar to the renovation that the 49ers ran. And they cited LA's formula just a couple years later when San Francisco turned into the NFL draft and picked 5 straight defenders to open the draft for the first time since 1981 in 2025. The setup that the 49ers were dealing with, trying to modernize the roster, was evocative of the setup that the Rams were dealing with in 2023, trying to modernize the roster. Obviously, an R&D-based approach for LA, which touched into AI, and an R&D-based approach for the 49ers, which I'm sure touches into AI as well, given where they are, given what they have access to, and given some of the results that we've already seen. The 2024 and 2025 draft classes, both looking much, much better already than what the 49ers were able to produce in probably the 3 or so years before that. And the health of the franchise and the roster in a long-term sense has been on the line, and, you know, in many ways will continue to be on the line here in 2026, where the 49ers need a nice haul to continue to modernize. Now, the big question is, do they start pivoting focus to the offensive side of the ball, where last year it was that defensive focus, and now the defense is the third youngest in the league. The offense is the oldest in the league. One of the big points of emphasis this offseason is the offense's oldest player, and that is Trent Williams, who's going to be 38 in 2026. Obviously, the contract issue is ongoing with Trent Williams. The 49ers do expect him back under a new deal in 2026, but all of this serves as a reminder that perhaps the modernization process and the modernization effort should move from the defensive side of the ball to the offensive side of the ball as soon as this NFL draft. I mean, we talk about the holes on this 49ers football team, right? Let's go through all of them. Defensive line is an obvious one. I think edge rusher, you lost Bryce Huff. You might have lost Bryce Huff through a trade anyway. You might have been trying to modernize that to fit the vision of new defensive coordinator Raheem Morris anyway, but they just need more bodies along the defensive line, especially because of all the injuries that they have suffered that they're still recovering from along the defensive line. I think you need one more safety if you're the 49ers. Even I'm about to come out with a big piece on the San Francisco Standard on the DBs. I think that they're fine at cornerback. They were much better at corner than people like to insinuate, but safety was a question mark for San Francisco, and we can delve more into that tomorrow. But I think you need another body there. Whether you go rookie, whether you go veteran after the draft, probably remains to be seen. But you flip it over to the offensive side of the ball, and the 49ers probably need to think about passing the torch from Trent Williams onto somebody else, all while addressing that left guard position. Can they get a 2-4-1 type of player that plays left guard now and tackle later? Maybe, maybe not, but it's definitely a hole that the 49ers still need to fill ahead of this 2026 season. Backup running back. Right now, it's probably Jordan James, with maybe Isaac Guerendo getting some time. You probably need one more body. The future wide receiver leaves a lot to be desired. Again, I keep on saying this, but Ricky Pearsall is the only 49er that's currently under contract with the team who has scored a touchdown in their uniform, who is under contract beyond 2026. Of course, I'm not counting Brandon Ayuk for obvious reasons, and because of the Ayuk defection, because of the troubles there, the 49ers are in a spot where they need a 4-5 receiver for the long term, and they definitely have not ruled out using their number 27 first-round pick on a wide receiver. So that's receiver, that's offensive line, tight end 2, with Luke Farrell not blocking nearly as well as I think the 49ers had hoped, with George Kittle having torn his Achilles. I think that backup tight end position lines up to be a position of need. So that's a third need on the offensive side of the ball, a side that is the oldest in the league, that's going to have to modernize at some point, probably after this season. You're going to get some last dance vibes when it comes to the 49ers offense in 2026. So maybe that project starts now as San Francisco strives to add more team speed to the offensive side of the ball. And then, of course, you've got all the needs on defense with only 6 draft picks for the 49ers. So they have to use their resources wisely. They have to approach this draft knowing that it is a crapshoot, that you can't be guaranteed of being able to throw and hit the bullseye with your dart on the board in any given situation. And you're going to have to exit the draft knowing that you might have to turn back toward the free agency pool. That's why we talk about Joey Bosa. That's why we talk about Joel Bitonio. And yes, that's why when something like Dexter Lawrence happens, when he requests a trade, the 49ers will look into the efficacy of it. We'll look into the efficacy of it. And I will have to say that, yes, they traded for Osa Odighizuwa. Lawrence would be a different position along that defensive interior, higher level player, more pedigree, but probably also more expensive, and it may not even be attainable at this point, given the latest from the New York Giants. All right, those are the 49ers roster holes. That's the latest. That's your alarm update. We will talk to you soon.